Hi, my name is Court Duvall, and I decided to do for my action research project the Gramley Library at Salem College. They're located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I recently moved up here, and there's a wonderful farmers market right beside the campus. And I saw the library, and I thought this would be perfect to go to. Uh, it's a private women's college. The population size of the college is about 1,000. Uh, This is their mission statement, creating personal learning experiences that inspire students to explore, create, and thrive. Inside the building has wonderful atmosphere. They've got beautiful art, statues, things like that. It's 3 stories. It has a really good library feel. Uh, the collection itself is it's a small set of core materials and services. Just like anything you would expect to see at an academic library, they have print resources, they have nonfiction holdings, they have reference books, they have a very small fiction section here. You can see some of the books here on the table. They have a computer lab with some dedicated, Dell workstations. They have a few databases. Uh, and they do provide a reference librarian and a circulation staff. I met with Elizabeth Novicki. She's the newest, or I should say, she's recently become the director of the library. I think she said about a year ago, and we had a really great conversation. We talked for about an hour and a half about all sorts of things. We talked about collection development policy there, or the lack thereof, you could say. We'll get to that later. We talked about how she purchases items, how they observe usage and maintenance, and how they weed. And we also talked a little bit about the institutional repository she'd like to create in the future. And so, I first asked her if she had a collection development policy, and she said yes, that they did, but it doesn't see the light of day unless there's some kind of accreditation review or something like that. She said because she's brand new, she's actually starting to work on a development policy herself, but the one that's in existence is very old, and it doesn't really correspond with today's library needs. She says that policy is mainly concerned with trying to provide everything or as much as possible for as many people as possible, like in the case of an emergency, like just having these holdings for prosperity. And she said that she's trying to develop a policy that's more about trying to access resources, books, and things like that that the students and faculty actually need, and instead of trying to account for everything, just target exactly what they want. And so that brings me to purchasing. What she's talking about, or what she told me, was what she's trying to do is do something which she calls a curriculum-based approach to getting materials. And so that means looking at the syllabi of professors, looking at the classes and the courses and the degree programs being offered on campus, and trying to select only what she thinks that the university needs to meet those class requirements. She's talking to professors and doing her research to save money. And so instead of trying to buy, maybe a database of movies, she's trying to maybe pinpoint just a few DVDs that the professors actually use. And she told me over and over this thing, access, access, access. She kept saying it's all about access. Libraries are moving further and further away from trying to provide physical copies of things. It's really more about buying subscription access rights so that people can get to what they need on the computer or their cell phone. She told me that they recently did, I don't know, a review of the collection. She went through with one of her librarians, and they looked at some of the books, some of their usage statistics, looked at their general age of the collection and things like that, and she identified many places that she needs to weed. And in fact, she showed me her reference section where she had gutted maybe 80% of the holdings because she said they weren't being used and they were just collecting dust. She said she was going to make room for either new resources or maybe even more computers. And weeding, she made me laugh. She said, sometimes weeding is easy because you just grab the low-hanging fruit. And she said what those are just items that aren't circulating very well, or they're old or irrelevant, or maybe even damaged. What she does is she looks at other universities' holdings in the area, and if it turns out that many other universities have those items, that she thinks it'd be best to just weed theirs to make room for other books or other items. And she said we only try to keep, or they only try to keep the items that are kind of unique to their campus. Maybe they only have the only copy in the state, or one of only a few copies in the state. And to save money, they can just ILL books that other universities have. Let's see, donate. Oh yeah, they these items that they weed, they donate to Better World Books, which is a good cause. But she said also that if you, after so many boxes, that generates revenue, they'll actually get a check. So that actually is nice. And she said in some instances there'll be books that they really need to weed, but might actually have some resale value. And so one of the librarians there, she said, looks, and sometimes there'll be books that are actually rather valuable that they'll sometimes sell. Um, I did not think to ask her how she does her online catalog, but this is actually something I work with at University of South Carolina, Aiken, where I currently work. Um, I don't work with the online catalog per se. I work with all the electronic resources like the link resolver, the proxy server, their libguides, and things like that. They're electronic subscriptions. But I used to work closely with the cataloger and the periodical staff position people. And what they would do is they would purchase items either through Baker and Taylor or some other book distributor, and sometimes they would come cataloged on the spine or not. And if it wasn't cataloged on the spine with the library call LOC call number, that kind of thing, the cataloger could create a label with the Dymo printer and attach it, and then what she would do was go inside Millennium, our ILS system, and create the entry for the item inside the catalog. And since that was an item level entry, she would just attach that item level entry to a bibliographic entry, which might have many, many items. The periodical staff person would do the same exact thing, but for the periodicals, the print journals, and things like that. Uh, we also talked a little bit about an institutional repository. That's something that she wanted to, have for the campus. She's had some good feedback from faculty and administrators on campus. She think it'd be good for making faculty works visible, make a good centralized information hub for even students who might want to put their works online. Uh, she also talked about how she can save money by joining consortiums and buying things like in a group package, like we discussed in our, or I read about in our textbook for this semester. And Salem College is as a member of the TALA, or the TALA, the Triad Academic Library Association. And she says often she'll be able to buy a basket of, be able to access a large basket of goods by just chipping in a little bit of money. In closing, I just want to say this was an amazing assignment. I really enjoyed it. What I learned was just access, access, access. Elizabeth could just not stop talking about, providing resources is more important than trying to account for everything. It's the one thing that I think I really took away from this. Staying relevant, that ties in with that. Trying to keep up with technology, match the needs of faculty and students with what you can provide. And the considerations for the future, the budget, is one of those things. It's always slimming, and we're always trying to get the most benefit for our money, the best bang for our buck. And so, with limited staffing and limiting budget, it's always important to make good collection development decisions. Uh, Thanks for the project. It was really nice. I really appreciate the opportunity to go and talk with the director, and I learned a lot.